your world news headquarters on the World Wide Web, it's time for your daily dose of sanity. This is the Meria Heller Show. Meria Heller is a published author, founder of the Universal Wheel, a lifestyle and philosophy based on our interconnectedness to all living things, a Reiki master, and delivers the news with spiritual views. How many intuitive news decoders, animal rights activists, and vegetarian broadcasters are there? Just one. Meria. Meria has provided independent news for a smart audience for over 13 years now on the Meria Heller Show, available at Meria.net. Meria.net. And now, here is your host, the mouth that roars, Meria Heller.
Good morning, world. Meria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to Stars Are Us with my co-host, Joseph Anthony. And what a morning it is. I don't know where to start first, but if you don't know by now, that Obama won last night, basically by a landslide. That's, I guess, what we're going to kick off the show with. So let me say good morning to Joe Anthony. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Meria. Yes. He won again. Gee, there's a surprise.
Hey, you know what? I thought a year ago, or even more, when I was talking with my other co-host, that Obama would win by a landslide, that no one would vote for a Mormon. And if I didn't read Greg Pallas's book, Billionaires and Bandit Billionaires, and Webster Tarpley's book on Mitt Romney, Just Too Weird, those were actually put questions in my mind as to whether or not Romney was going to win it, whether he's going to steal it. But I guess I need to just always stick with my original intuition. Because,
Absolutely.
Look, I'm not thrilled that Obama won, but I know I'd be very ugly today if Romney would have won.
Yeah. Well, I think we mentioned it last time, and I did take a look at both of their charts, astrologically, and there was no way that Romney was going to win this because, astrologically speaking, the alignments were not favoring him, and it was tough to decide on which birth chart I wanted to use for Obama because, the speculation about his birth chart actually being born in Kenya or Hawaii or now maybe even in Seattle, Washington. So I ran a chart for Seattle, Washington, and I've got to say, Meria, that the chart for Seattle, Washington looks very credible,
Right.
But anyway, I just looked at it astrologically as well, and there was no chance that Romney was going to win. And I got the feeling after this election that he is just the person that they decided to put up there for the last, how many elections? 3 elections?
Right,
three-time
loser.
He's just the guy that just is like the filler,
Right.
who's just going to be in the background, and we'll promote him and make him look like he's going to win, and he's going to be someone who could actually win the election, and I think he's just one of those guys that's a stand-in. On a police lineup, you have the actual criminal, and then you
Right.
have 7 other people in line.
Mm-hmm.
I think Romney is one of those other 7 people that they've chosen to put in line to, as a possibility if people were dumb enough to elect him.
I know you listened to the interview I did with Webster Tarpley, and I got to tell you, his book was frightening in its education, and I was like, oh my God, if this guy gets in, women will go back at least 100 years in this country, let alone he'll finish off the job.
Absolutely, and I did listen to the show, and it was an excellent show. I respect and admire Webster Tarpley immensely, because the man is highly educated, knows the facts, and can prove them. But the other thing is I watched a few videos on Mormon, rituals and practices, and I got to tell you, it's a freaking cult.
Oh, no kidding.
I saw.
It's frightening.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't believe in any religious rituals to begin with, but watching these ceremonies by, wearing these white gowns and repeating these sayings and raising their hands and bowing, and I mean, it's just creepy.
I know, and that's without all the Freemason symbols and everything else they have.
Of course. Of course, absolutely. But, I'm kind of glad it's over. But now we have to really watch what Obama's going to do, because there's a lot of speculation. Because he's not going to be reelected again. We have to watch those executive orders. We got to watch this power grab now that's going to take place. We thought before, there was some power grab with the the National Defense Authorization Act and basically all these executive orders. But watch out now, because he has free reign to do whatever they want him to do.
Well, you know what amazed me was very few people in Congress got replaced. So he's still facing the same stonewall that he's faced all along, which could turn out to be a good thing.
Absolutely. The less that gets done in Washington, I think the better it is for us, So, but I'm glad it's behind us, and it'll be an interesting, I feel it's going to be an interesting year ahead, okay? Right. Especially the next 6 months. Because whatever's going on, I think they're really going to shake up the system. And I mean they as the oligarchy that really controls everything, not Obama. As we know that, Obama and the presidency is just a puppet post. And he's really going to have a lot of pressure put on him, I think, in the next couple of months. Because they're going to want him to do things that are going to be very radical. And he might just play along, because the more I know about Mr. Obama, the more I see that he really is very passive in his demeanor, and he'll just go along with whatever is put in front of him or whatever is told that he's supposed to do.
Right, or this big bipartisan
man.
Right. Or this big, I want to work with the Republicans thing. It's obvious they don't want to work with him.
Well, yeah, of course, but this is indicative of what is really going on astrologically. And I looked at this morning, Meria. We have a major alignments that are occurring, as you know, with Uranus squaring Pluto, Uranus representing massive innovation and change and doing things in a new way. And then Pluto in Capricorn, which is the entrenched elite, the power structures that be, the people behind the scenes. These two are at odds. And these will continue to be at odds for the next 2 years. But this month is another challenging month that I see astrologically, where we have Saturn in Scorpio is going to make another alignment with Uranus this time. Okay? Bad enough we got Pluto making an alignment to Uranus. Now we have Saturn in the mix. And this is all going to happen around the 13th on the new moon, the solar eclipse, I may add.
Right.
with Mercury retrograde on top of that.
I know. What did you think about the election happening on a Mercury retrograde?
Nothing new. I mean, it was at the beginning of the retrograde. So I noticed some stories that had to do with, Romney's going to contend Ohio, and he's not happy. And it was very close. The Electoral College was very close there for a while. Right. And then we had that same feeling that, here's another Bush-Gore situation.
Well, that was the last time we voted on a Mercury retrograde.
Exactly. So that was our concern as astrologers, that we were going to see another Gore-Bush situation. So fortunately we did not, unless, Romney does something stupid from here on, the rest of this month, but I don't think he will.
Too little, too late.
Exactly. But, retrogrades just mean reflection, going back. And that's what I think it did. It caused us subconsciously to think about, another situation like the year 2000.
Right. Exactly.
Has not happened.
Well, but what a relief for me, because I certainly didn't want to cover another stolen election like that.
Right, of course.
So when it all moved so fast last night, I was so happy to see the concession speech, the victory speech was all done by 11:30 at night. I was like, yay, this is over.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people were. I noticed a lot of Facebook posts saying, thank God it's over. Now we can get back to just the ads about, erectile dysfunction.
Right.
And kinds of drug commercials.
Right. You know what? I don't think I think that campaigning should only be like for 6 months before the election, not 2 years. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Well,
let alone the money spent. They said this was the most expensive election ever. Imagine if they used that money for the good of the people.
Yeah, well, you and I both know the money is where the corruption really lies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just distort and confuse people so much. And it bothers me when I see on Facebook all these people that are so, for one candidate or the other, and especially in the spiritual community. Oh my God, it's disheartening, to see all these wonderful people.
All right. It's
Oh.
ignorance. It's ignorance. You know what? Up until I voted yesterday, I always was like a lot of other people saying, "Oh, the Electoral College shouldn't count. It should be the popular vote." But when I saw how ignorant people are, I said they should leave the Electoral College in place forever. And people should have to take a test before they vote.
I totally agree with you. But I also like Gerald Salente's, comment that he says, we have banking online. We have all these other, places that we could go online. Why don't we have voting online?
Well, they did allow some voting online because of the storm. They did indeed allow people to do that. And, for the fact that your vote doesn't count anyway, what's the difference? We might as well put it in a helium balloon and send it out to the sky.
This is true. What is his name? Roosevelt had a wonderful quote in 1934, presidents are selected, not elected.
Right.
So it's so true. It is so true.
Right. Well, one of the old ladies manning the table yesterday, one of the girls in front of me was in a hurry. She says, I'm on my lunch hour. And I, you know me, how loud I am wherever I go, Joe. I said, well, Election Day should be a national holiday if they really wanted people to vote. So the old lady, who's obviously one of the volunteers, she says, but then we'd have to pay all our federal employees for a day off. I says, we pay everybody in the government now anyway, and they don't work, So a couple of people laughed. But to show the ignorance, Joe, I'm in Gila County, and you're in Maricopa County. Sheriff Joe got in again, which I can't believe, but he runs in Maricopa County. Well, I hear one woman in the voting booth yelling out to the people at the tables, I can't find Sheriff Joe on the ballot.
Wow.
When I heard that, I said, these people have no right to vote. They should have no right to vote. You shouldn't forget voter ID. They should have to have voter IQ.
Yes, I totally would agree with that. But let me correct you. I'm in Yavapai County now.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You escaped.
Yeah, I'm in Yavapai.
Yavapai.
Yavapai, or whatever it's called. I don't know. I know it starts with a Y.
It's Yavapai, named after the Yavapai Indians that used to live there.
That's right.
All right.
But getting back to Joe, let me just make a comment that I've noticed about Joe Arpaio. Like him or not, the thing that I admire about him, the one thing that I admire about him, because how sheriffs in this country have a lot of power over the federal government. That this is a guy that every time an administration comes in and tells him what to do, he goes, you know what? F you. I got to admire that about him, or any sheriff that does that for that matter.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Because the sheriff really does have. What's that?
I wouldn't admire him for any reason. He's an embarrassment to the Italian race, is the way I see it.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. Whether
and
you
he's
like
80 years old. When is he going to go away? What does he want to die in office?
Well, yeah.
And everybody loves him until they get a speeding ticket or until they get a DUI and end up in his tent city. Then they don't love him anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's an inhumane bastard. He's an inhumane bastard who should be working at Gitmo. That's my thought about him. How's that, Joe? Hey, Joe, let's talk about how in the hell did you, an expert astrologer, end up stuck in New York for Hurricane Sandy? What the hell?
Well, that's interesting because I did look at the alignments and I did see that I was going to have trouble coming back. I did realize I had a lot of hesitation on this trip. I've got to be honest with you, Maria, because what I was sensing was something wasn't right here. And this is before the storm or anything like that. When I made the arrangements, I said, I've got to go to New York for some reason. Okay. And I came to the conclusion there's two reasons why I had to go back to New York. One, obviously, was family. Right. They're getting older and I needed to sort of connect with them and kind of fill them in on what's going on and maybe encourage them to move on and do something else or move out of New York, which I've been encouraging a lot of people to do.
Right.
But the other thing is I needed to experience that hurricane and the people there and how they reacted. Because I think it was like I needed to see what was going to happen in the near future if, and that's a big if, we have a collapse of economic situation or a gas shortage or some sort of, martial law, whatever you want to call it. Because I did see a lot of things there that were like reminiscent of things to come. In other words, we saw military on the streets, okay? There were, the military was there, and we had cops everywhere in every gas station because, as you know, there were a lot of people getting into fights at gas stations over gas. Mm-hmm. You see? We saw the FEMA, how many people in Staten Island were complaining that, all they saw were people with clipboards walking around.
Right.
It was like, who's helping us?
Well, Staten Island's always been the red-haired stepchild of New York City.
Absolutely. But one person actually had a great point. He said, we knew that the hurricane was coming. Why didn't they start sending stuff in and store it somewhere, as a precaution?
Maybe they didn't want it blown away. If those people knew the hurricane was coming, and they did all over the East Coast, why in the hell didn't they have full gas tanks?
Well, that too.
I mean, I live in the middle of nowhere, drive 5 miles a week, and I always have a full tank of gas. You never know.
But, you know as well as I do, being from New York, that there's a different mindset over there. There's almost like, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to,
right.
The world of land cares. It's just like they only live for the immediate moment or the gratification that takes place immediately in front of them.
All right. Right. Didn't you find this storm was pretty made to order? I mean, let's face it, this storm handed Obama the election.
Yeah, it was a distraction because I'll tell you, I was there and I was watching the chemtrails the day of the storm. Okay, and I think we talked about that. I posted it to Facebook. I said, you've got to see all these chemtrails that are coming up over here.
Right.
And then I noticed, the big thing that I noticed between the Hurricane Irene, they posted them on Facebook. Irene was a tightly knit spiral, hurricane. This thing was so sloppy, and when you looked at the satellite pictures, you could see that it was either being guided or there were chemtrails all around this thing.
Oh yeah, I saw it even on Dutch Sense and some other videos with the radar. It was very, very noticeable that you could see the chemtrails bringing it inland.
Exactly, and especially with those radar pulses that they were emitting from Puerto Rico, they were literally guiding this thing along the path. I think they were heading for Washington, and that whole region, and hoping that that they would hit Washington D.C. so they would postpone the election.
Yeah, but it didn't get touched at all. How convenient.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been something, huh?
Right. So I was like, wow, how convenient, because I always want to look. Of course, first thing I always say is who benefits. But, hearing from, my friends back east, especially in Long Beach where I used to live, I mean, the town is totally decimated. There's no way of fixing it. The town's broke, so everybody's pretty much screwed.
I totally agree. But, this is just another distraction, as we both know. But I also asked myself, like you did, who benefits from this? And what other technologies do they have that they're not sharing with us? Like EMPs, electromagnetic pulses.
Right.
While this storm is going on, what's to say they're not, some satellite somewhere or, someplace in the country here that they're not sending out pulses to continue to distract and to continue to, distort information. Because I got to tell you, Meria, when I was there, you could feel that there was a lot of tense, annoying energy in the air. You could feel the frustration level. You could feel the irritation level in the air.
Well, Of course, that's a whole lot of people giving off that same vibe.
Exactly. And then you got this storm where the barometric pressure is absolutely taking hold in the atmosphere, and whatever else, if they're turning on HAARP, the chemtrails, whatever
right.
It's all part of the dynamics.
Well, let's not forget it also justified Obama, his stand on FEMA versus Romney, who said he was going to get rid of FEMA. So I knew he was dead and gone as soon as that storm happened.
Right.
And, when he got criticized, Obama got criticized by Bush's asshole Brownie that destroyed most of Katrina and was useless in FEMA. He said Obama was responding too quickly. So, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But you saw Christie, you saw Bloomberg. Here's two people that were totally anti-Obama. But now that they needed the money, all of a sudden they jumped sides pretty darn quick.
Yeah, and speaking of money, I guess we're going to have to go to the Federal Reserve and print a whole lot more money, huh?
I suppose so. I said, wow, if this is their idea of job creation, that's pretty messed up.
Of course.
Let's face it, if you're in the trades, you're going to make a whole lot of money now.
Absolutely. I mean, these people know how to manipulate the system. They are the system. Let's create some havoc over here and then have federal government and all kinds of contractors come in, that are buddies, and we'll print more money. I mean, they know what they're doing, and it's all orchestrated.
Well, they say art imitates life. There's a new show on TV called Revolution. I don't know if you've seen it, but the premise is the whole world goes dark. They lose electricity. And how, the people basically, you get the same fighting factions and animals versus the nice people, yada, yada, and everybody trying to figure out how to live without electricity. So I thought it was pretty interesting to see that happen on the East Coast.
Yeah. Well, studying these people as I have and you have, they do something that's very interesting. They usually put out a little feeler or a tester, usually years in advance, in order to condition people to the situation coming. Mm-hmm. And Hollywood is known for that. Right. Putting out movies like what was the one, Independence Day, where there was the tidal waves in New York. I remember which movie it was. I don't watch these movies
2012.
Anyway. Yeah, 2012. Okay, thank you. They put out 2012, and there were masses of water and tidal waves hitting, the shore of New York. Gee, this hurricane,
right,
it's right in line with that.
Exactly. It'll look like Day After Tomorrow when the big freeze hits New York. When I saw all that water pouring into Battery Park, I was like, wow, this is like a great movie with great FX. And maybe that's what it was anyway.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're predicting this stuff, or they're actually influencing it years ahead of time in order to condition people.
I always say, who calls it creates it.
Exactly, totally. And it wouldn't surprise me that they've got technology to look into the future. They have remote viewing. Mm-hmm. And they may have more advanced ways of looking into the future, and then helping to enhance it or change it in some ways. Right. So none of this stuff surprised me, knowing that the technology that they hold. And when I mean they, I mean the dark projects, the black ops, and all that other stuff.
Right.
And I sent you that wonderful PDF file that I found. Somebody sent it to me, and I think it was incredible. That MI6 retired agent there basically laid it all out.
Right.
What's really going on. And I don't know if it's true or not, but it's very interesting.
Right. You never know. You can't tell anymore. So, Joe, let's get over to the month of November. Okay, we're starting this month, and it looks like pretty much the whole month, on this Mercury retrograde, which happens to be in Sagittarius.
Yes, it's in Sagittarius for a bit, and then it backtracks into Scorpio. Right now, with this alignment, Mercury is in Sagittarius, and it's really at a tough angle to Chiron. Now, Chiron is an asteroid, and it represents where we're wounded or we need some sort of healing, and it's exact right now. And it's also affecting Neptune, which is about fantasy, illusion, spiritual. So there's a healing going on, or a need to heal the spirit. Mm-hmm. On some level right now. And this month is indicative of that, with Mercury going retrograde. You see? And this is going to be a weird month, folks. Last month I talked about how it's going to be a little slow, and, we're going to be thinking about relationships. This month is really about our psyche, and really going deep within and looking within ourselves and saying, my God, what's going on? Who am I? What do I represent? You see? Because Mercury's going to be retrograde, so we're going within. Jupiter's already retrograde, and that's going within. You see, and then we add the element of Scorpio energy, which is about the deep part of our soul or our psyche. And then with the solar eclipse really highlighting that on the 13th, you couldn't get a more profound time to look within ourselves. And I mean this as individuals. I mean this as a collective consciousness. I mean this as a race on this planet, where we must begin to look at ourselves as one body, on this matrix, and say, okay, what is it that I need to change about myself? How do I help my fellow man sort of change the perception of who we are? We must go deep within. We cannot just look at ourselves this month and say, it's all me and I'm going to do this for myself. It's really more on a larger scale of looking at the bigger picture.
Right.
You see? So this month, there's a psychological edge to this month. And also a sexual edge. I got to add that too, because psycho and sexual kind of go hand in hand, as crazy as that seems.
Well, it's understandable.
Because they both represent a similar thing.
Right. Now, some people say that when you have the major eclipses, especially I think they're saying the 13th, that you see a lot of earthquakes.
Well, that is a possibility because Scorpio, and that's what it represents, the solar eclipse in Scorpio is about transformation, deep psychological transformation. But because Mercury has to do with communication, I would say look for communication issues this month. Satellites, strange communication issues, weird situations having to do with it could be earthquakes. We already saw one. What was it this morning? There was a 7.5 in, what is it, Guantanamo?
Guatemala, and a 4.5 in Utah.
Yeah. So I didn't really research it. I just checked my email and I saw that there was a 7.5. But yes, there is that possibility of earth changes. But then again, with the information that we have and that we know that heart plays a factor, how do we know one is not real? That the Earth is actually having an earthquake, or one that's being generated by fracting.
I think they use astrology to generate.
I think they do, absolutely do, because
so that it looks normal.
Exactly. They absolutely use astrology because they know when a certain portal of energy or an opportunity arises in astrology, they absolutely pounce upon it big time.
Right.
So. Yes, I would say there would be more earth changes. The other thing that I picked up intuitively is to watch Yellowstone, watch the earthquakes in the Southwest, or in the in the western part of the country. There's something brewing there, and I say that also because Dutch Sense has also been posting stuff in the Southwest where he sees plumes, smoke coming out of the ground, and that's usually indicative of something going on underground that we need to pay attention to.
Well, I guess that's the only thing missing is a giant earthquake to split the country in half.
Exactly. Or look for some stronger solar flares, because that's also a strong possibility. I think we're going to see them in the early part of next year. The sun is definitely being activated in some way, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to enhance that fear. They're going to enhance that anxiety. You see? So if we have an earthquake, maybe they'll throw in another tornado. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or help it along in some way where it really paralyzes people more. So they rely heavily upon the government, or they keep them in the fear mode. Because as I've been saying, and I've been telling everyone, this alignment that's going to occur next month, and I'm going to write about it in next month's newsletter, is really a positive energy flow coming from the galactic center. And they don't want people to absorb this energy. You see?
Right.
So I think they're going to do stuff that's going to cause more chaos, that's going to cause more fear, because they don't want us to awaken to this positive energy that's flowing. And I came to this conclusion when I was reading some of the Egyptian text and all of their rituals, where they worship Ra. They weren't worshiping Ra because it was just the sun and the giver of light. They were worshiping the alignments that Ra was having, or the sun was having. You see?
Right.
So they knew that to absorb this energy, that they would do something to their bodies and their souls. So that's my take on it. And I think, as we get closer to next month, we may see some more.
Look, it's hard. I got to tell you, it's hard to believe 2012 is almost over.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that amazing?
I know. It's like you take a blink and there it is. It's gone. So do we have a second eclipse this month, though, on the 28th, right?
Absolutely. On the 28th, this one's going to be in Gemini. Again, reinforcing communication, ideas, intuition, where are we going? There's going to be a lot of chatter and communication within our minds. But the lunar eclipses are really about letting go of something. So what this month is really all about, the theme of this month is the universe is asking us to go deep within ourselves and to change something on a deep psychological level. And then by the end of the month, let it go. Let go of the notion that we need to rely on a government, or we need to rely on a religion, or we need to rely on fear. Mm-hmm. You see?
Right.
Because what it's making way for is December. December being this positive flow of energy that's going to be coming in, and that we're supposed to embrace that. And I'm going to encourage everyone between December 13th and the 21st to go outside when the sun goes up and to go outside when the sun goes down, because we're going to be in perfect alignment between those 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And
right.
To meditate, to say, I'm so grateful. I'm in line with the source. The source is within me. I'm a part of this universe.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Right.
So that's how I view it. And whatever else happens, just realize it has to happen, or we're going to be a part of it and a part of the changes that are to come.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that we got a whole bunch of very busy planets coming up this month. That's for sure. And there are still people who honestly believe that none of that affects them, and I don't even get that, Joe. Joe, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, let's start out with the monthly horoscopes for individuals. And then let's talk a little bit more about all these other planets moving on through. So stay with us. Joe and I will be right back. Hi, this is Meria Heller, taking a break from my own show. I've been the producer and host of the Meria Heller Show since July of 2000. Other people claim to be the longest podcast on the net. I actually am. Or as Greg Pallas said, Maria's the inventor of internet radio. I'm not a member of any political party. I'm not a member of any religious group. I'm just a member of the human race, just like you, trying to survive and know the truth about what's really going on out there. So won't you please take the time while you're listening to this show to subscribe? Get over to Meria, MERIA.net, pick the subscription of your choice, make a donation, and sit back and listen to commercial-free talk from the best experts on the planet that only have you and me in mind. Because if you're going to trust your government to take care of you, that's going to be one of the biggest mistakes you've ever made in your life. So, again, thank you for subscribing, thanks for listening, and thanks for sharing the information with anyone who will listen. Again, back to the show. Okay, welcome back to Stars Are Us, and we are part of the stars, whether you like it or you don't. It's irrelevant. If you don't believe they affect you, start clocking, especially Mercury retrogrades. I've done that now for 30 years, and they never fail to amuse me.
Absolutely.
Joe, before the break, we talked a little bit about, because I know this seems to be an extremely busy month astrologically. What can people individually expect? We do our general horoscope read, but I'd also, again, want to remind listeners it's not a substitution for getting your chart done. And that's what Joe does. That's what he does to pay his bills. And we all got to do something to pay our bills until we don't need money anymore. But also pay attention to your rising sign, your moon sign, and your sun sign, especially if you're picking up a paper and reading your little daily horoscope for the day.
Absolutely. I've been spending a lot more time at some of these spiritual fairs, and some of the people that are, that follow me and follow my work, and I'm so grateful because they are starting to get it. People come up to me and they know their charts better, and they start going, well, I got, Mercury's going to be in this house and it's going to be doing this. And I'm like, great, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That gives them a leg up on what's happening. So don't take it so personally,
Absolutely.
So I love to see that, and it really inspires me. And, you're absolutely right. People should absolutely know the basics of their chart. I tell people, don't live your life by astrology, but just understand the cycles.
Right, or understand who you are.
Happening.
Right, because it will tell you who you are. That's without question of a doubt.
Sure. But, each sign is going to feel these changes differently. With Mercury going retrograde, Gemini and Virgos are going to feel it the most this month for sure. Mm. And with the eclipses, Scorpio and Taurus are going to feel it. And but this month, I would have to say Gemini and Virgos are the ones that are going to get the brunt of this energy this month because of the planets and because of the eclipses. So, if you like, I could go right into the individual horoscopes.
Sure.
Okay. Well, let me start off with Aries, and I'll make these quick. Aries, there's going to be a psychological edge to this month because Mercury's going to go retrograde in your 9th house, which has to do with where am I going? What am I doing? What do I believe in? So there's going to be a lot of self-doubt. There's going to be some shortcomings. You're going to review your goals and that sort of stuff. Again, don't get frustrated if things aren't moving forward because, Mercury's retrograde but the solar eclipse this month is going to highlight your finances. Okay. So just remember, be careful of misunderstandings. Don't frustrate yourself that things in the financial area are not moving. And by the end of the month with the lunar eclipse, it's really about you letting go of an idea, a concept, and just moving forward with your life. Okay, so this goes for all signs. Don't get frustrated this month because the alignments are showing going within and stagnation.
Right. Wouldn't you also say, though, this is a good month not to go out buying your Christmas presents if they're going to be any kind of computer equipment or communication equipment?
Absolutely. Any electronics of any form, wait until the end of the month or wait until the beginning of December would be definitely a better time to purchase electronics.
Right.
For sure. So, Taurus, what can I say? Relationships are being highlighted for you this month. Revisiting people from the past, situations from the past. Mercury's retrograding your 8th house, so this is causing a lot of transformations deep within, having to do with your money, your finances, your beliefs. Unfinished business from the past is resurfacing. The November 13th powerful solar eclipse is in your opposite sign, so it's going to really shake the tree for relationships. You may start a relationship with somebody from the past, somebody that you knew before. They may come into your life and say, hey, listen, let's take our friendship a little further. Anything to do with that in that realm. And it also goes for business. If you've had these ideas about moving forward in a business concept or idea, the second half of the month is definitely favored. Okay? So Venus is going to enter Scorpio as well. So, everything to do with partnerships for Taurus is being highlighted this month. Mm-hmm. So just remember not to sign any new contracts or new agreements until Mercury comes out of retrograde. Okay?
Wouldn't you say that's for everybody?
It is, absolutely, but even more so for Taurus because there are going to be opportunities here for Taurus in the financial realm because Scorpio is highlighting finances as well. So they may, be happy to get involved with somebody on a financial level or a business transaction, and there'll be a need to sign a contract. But yes, generally speaking for everybody, but more so for Taurus,
Right.
There's just a lot of partnership issues that are arising for Taurus this month. Okay, Gemini, I'm so sorry for having to say this, but you're one of those signs, you and Virgo, that are going to feel a lot of this energy pull. Okay? Not only is your ruler going retrograde until, most of the month, basically, and then you have, at the end of the month, you have this lunar eclipse. So you're really going to think about what partnerships or what situations that I need to leave behind or, just reconsider going in a new direction, especially having to do with career. So, you got a lot to think about this month. It's definitely going to be a heavy psychological month. Don't frustrate yourself, and please do not go within and go, oh, my life is this and that and so on and so forth.
Right.
Okay? You know what's happening. Don't buy into it. Understand that there's going to be confusion, that there's going to be delays, that there's going to be misunderstandings. Okay? And you've got Jupiter also retrograde in Gemini. So you got like a double whammy going on, especially at the end of the month. With the lunar eclipse, it's going to be very close to Jupiter in Gemini. So you're really going to question yourself even more. You see? Please don't buy into it. Do a little meditation that says, I understand what's happening. I will not feed into it. I will do the best that I can. Okay? But doors will start opening for you as soon as retrogrades, end, which will be next month. So be patient. Let this month, do the best you can this month and move forward. Okay? All right, Cancer. What can I say here? You've got an interesting month as well because the lunar eclipse at the end of the month is going to be in your 12th house of spirit or spirituality. And it's going to really make you question your self-worth and what you're seeing, what you're feeling. It's going to bring your intuition to another level of awareness. And then we have basically the Scorpio lunar eclipse, which is happening in your 5th house of love, and it's happening in the house of creativity. So you're going to feel inspired to start something new or act upon something new, but it may not be realistic. So I want you to just really pay attention. Is this something you really want? Is this something you really need? You see? And romance is going to be highlighted. Being around children is also going to be favored this month for you guys. So spend time with family. It's something that Cancers love to do anyway. They love to just be around or reconnect with family. But generally speaking, it's really about your spirit that's growing, Cancer, this month. So realize that you must embrace the changes and not be afraid of them to move forward. Okay? Leo, all right, here we go. This could be a bit of a frustrating month as well because you'll get mixed signals from moving forward with the eclipse and then the second half with the lunar eclipse going, okay. It's going to be a tug of war going on in Leo going, do I want it? Do I not want it? Do I want to buy it? Do I not want to buy it? And, generally speaking, Leos don't feel that way.
Right, it's odd for them.
This is a tricky month. Like I said, it's a tricky month for everybody because there's a psychological edge to it.
Well, maybe I'll just sleep through this month, Joe.
Yeah, I would suggest it.
I try to on a retrograde.
This is an unusual month because we not only do we have the retrograde, but we got these two powerful eclipses taking place simultaneously.
Right.
And they're aligned with very difficult aspects to Uranus. And we still have Pluto and Uranus making alignments, you see? And then the Mercury retrograde is confusing because it's aligning with Neptune, which is about fantasy and illusion. So this is why it's confusing for Leo, primarily because there's a change that they don't quite understand, and it's a little frustrating, you see? So, but once everything starts moving into Sagittarius, the second half of the month, they feel a little bit more inspired and maybe even restless to move forward, okay? So watch your purchases this month, Leo, because you may be impulsive and, want to take a trip somewhere or want to buy something new. And, especially having to do with electronics, please wait. Don't go into this fantasy realm that, I'm going to do this and it's all going to work out and blah, 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 because the universe is going to have different ways of doing it for you. All right, Virgo. What can I say? As I said earlier, you're the other sign that's being affected by all of this energy. Okay, it's a little easier for you than it is for Geminis, but you guys have you have this nervous energy flowing through you right now. I talked to one of my friends who's Virgo, and she's like, I don't understand this nervous anxiety I keep feeling, and I'm like, welcome to the planetary alignments for Virgo and Gemini. So this retrograde is really going to be in your 4th house, which has to do with your feelings and your emotions. So please exercise, do some sort of physical activity to get that energy flowing around you and in you, you see? Because the solar eclipse is going to affect your 3rd house of communication. That's where it lands, generally speaking, for Virgos. So this is going to be this psychological, what the hell is going on type of mentality, you see, for Virgos. And they're going to have trouble sleeping. They're going to have issues arise where they think they're losing it.
Right. Well, I'm thinking, while you're saying all this, I'm thinking about all the people that are out in the street because of Sandy and how much more psychotic they're going to be than they normally would be because they're already up against it. Absolutely. But the other side to Pluto and Scorpio energy is that there can be transformations and there can be violence, so we do have to really pay attention to that. And the best thing that I suggest to most people is realize what's happening at the moment and don't feed into it if it's, if it doesn't feel right. Right, walk away. Exactly. Walk away and say, I'm going to do the best I can. This is not a situation I want to get myself involved in. That's the best thing to do. Right. So powerful changes really are in store for Virgo, especially with this 1-2 punch of, the solar eclipse and then the lunar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse is actually going to be squaring Virgo, so there's going to be a lot of psychological adjustment and especially having to do with your career,
having to do with if you're in a relationship, or even a close relationship having to do with family members. These are areas that are being highlighted.
All right.
Okay? So the lunar eclipse is going to highlight career. So you may really consider, is this the right career for you? Or you may change. Or you may even retire. There's some, if you're, old enough, you need to retire, then retire.
Right.
Okay, here we go. Libra, your finances are being highlighted this month thanks to that sun in Scorpio going through your second house, and also with the solar eclipse going through your second house. It's going to highlight all kinds of financial opportunities, either from the past or new ones that may come up. They're going to be a little tricky for you to choose from, you see. But it's also about self-worth. The second house in astrology represents self-worth issues. Am I worth this much? What do I really want out of life and my job, and what can I contribute? So it's really, there's a lot of questions about your self-worth this month. So I want you to be, pay attention, because again, Mercury's retrograde, so it could be a little tricky, talking to yourself, misunderstandings, not getting a clear picture, okay?
Right.
Mars is going to enter practical Capricorn in your fourth house, so be careful of issues around the home or with family members, okay, or neighbors, whatever. And then Venus will also enter Scorpio. I mean, everything is, for Libra this month, is highlighting finances and self-worth. So the lunar eclipse at the end of the month will also highlight, believe it's romance. So pay attention to a romantic situation, or one that's ending or needs to end. But for the most part, there's a lot of new opportunities this month, but also reconnecting with the past so you could make amends with it and let go and move forward. Okay? Scorpio, what can I say? This is going to be a tricky month for you because, first of all, you may have this desire to move forward because the planets are in Scorpio. And with the solar eclipse in Scorpio, there is definitely this opportunity of, I want to change. I want something about my life to change. Whether it be your physical appearance, the way you perceive yourself, how others perceive you. You've also got Saturn in there adding to more discipline or restrictions in your behavior, okay? And you become more conservative in a sense that, what it is that you want and where you're going and so on and so forth. So I want you to really pay attention this month to how you perceive yourself and what it is that you want in the long-term goals. It's great to review all this stuff, but don't put anything into action until Mercury comes out of retrograde, okay? Next month will be a better month for all that stuff. So with the lunar eclipse, that one is going to be in, looks like your 8th house. So it has to do with finances. So financial issues, taxes, anything to do with other people's expenses are also being highlighted. If you've got contracts or agreements that need to be signed, or if you're going for any loans, these will come to an end, or they will be highlighted and, time to move on. So it's not a negative month for you, Scorpio. It's really changing your whole perception of who you are and what it is you want to accomplish. So let's see. Let's go on to Sagittarius. Good things come to those who wait this month, Sagittarius, especially having to do with your psyche, having to do with who you are. There's a slowdown this month for Sagittarius because the solar eclipse is going to be in your 12th house. There are going to be many awarenesses, or, you're going to come to terms with a lot of spiritual messages this month, Sagittarius. I want you to pay attention to them because you're getting messages from the universe or your deeper consciousness, and you're going to see what's happening or what's coming down the road. So you must clear the past before you could move forward, okay? So it's important to meditate and spend some quiet time this month in reflection. It's a highly spiritual month for you. Okay, so I want you to pay close attention to that. Even though Mars is going to go to Capricorn and your focus is going to be on money again, I want you to spend more time paying attention to the spiritual side of your life. Because at the end of the month, the Gemini full moon is in your opposite sign, and it's going to be conjunct your ruler in the 7th house. Partnerships, maybe time to move on, move forward, get rid of a partnership. Somebody has outlived their usefulness. Venus will be square Pluto and Mars, allowing you to transform any lingering fears or anger into love and acceptance, having to do with personal relationships. So this is a big month for Sagittarius. So be patient. As I wrote in my newsletter, be patient. This is a very tricky month for Sagittarius, but you're going to have a lot of awareness into the psychological and spiritual realm, so pay attention. Here we go. Capricorn, lots of adjustments this month, especially right now, and especially with the solar eclipse and the Mercury retrograde. But the good news is that once Mars goes into your sign, I believe that's going to be around the middle of the month. Let me see, I'm looking at my book here. When does Mars go into, it goes into, on the 16th. November 16th, Mars goes into Capricorn. You're going to feel this need to move forward. Your energy level goes up. It's just this invincibility feeling to you. And it is definitely, reminding you to connect with others, other people, other situations, other friends, other organizations. Those are all being highlighted for you as well. And that's where the solar eclipse is taking place, in the 11th house of teamwork and friendships and personal connections. So I want you to really pay attention mid-month, because there's a lot of energy around people and situations in your life that you'll need to make choices. Watch for confusion because of Mercury retrograde. And then finally, at the end of the month, we have that Gemini lunar eclipse, which highlights your 6th house of health and responsibility. Pay attention to your obligations. Pay attention to your health, because this is going to be important. You're going to be running yourself down, and your physical health may slow you down and tell you, hey, take a little break, relax, spend 30 minutes meditating. That'll be very helpful and useful. Okay? And as soon as the planets start going into Sagittarius, it would be a good time for you to slow down, because next month will be a very busy month for Capricorns. All right, Aquarius. Lots of intensity at work. I mean, this solar eclipse and the sun are all highlighting your 10th house of career, okay? So watch for control issues at work. Watch for issues with coworkers at work. Watch for all kinds of issues. And there may be new opportunities this month that may, show up, because the sun in Scorpio and the new moon solar eclipse is going to be in Scorpio in your 10th house. So there's going to be a lot of intensity around your job, or a need to change your job, or wanting to get out of your job. But because Mercury's going to be retrograde, it could be a little confusing. Okay?
Right, so wrong time to get out of your job.
Exactly. So just be patient, look everything over carefully, don't make any major decisions, don't sign any contracts. You may feel a lack of support, it's just a month that's going to really highlight your career and what you really want out of life, you see? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, by the end of the month, we have a favorable sun alignment with Uranus, okay, which is going to motivate you to express yourself in some way. And towards the end of the month, of course, with the lunar eclipse, this is going to be in your 5th house of love. So it's going to challenge you a bit to stop playing games and maybe commit to somebody. So that's something that doesn't come easy for Aquarians. But you may have to decide, what is it that you want, in a relationship, in a personal relationship? What is it that you want in your career, you see? And you may have to make a decision by the end of the month. And last but not least, wonderful Pisces, okay? If you're looking for more purpose this month, the sun is going through Scorpio, which is favorable because it's another water sign. And it goes through your 9th house of higher learning and education and philosophy, okay? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the solar eclipse is also going to highlight this house, reminding you if you have any unfulfilled desires that you made to yourself, it's a good time to revisit them. Or if you want to travel or something to do with education, because that's what the 9th house represents, it's a good time to review them. If you need to make a commitment to yourself, I would wait until the end of the month to either travel or start new classes or whatever it is that you want to do. There's going to be a focus on the future for you this month. So Mercury's retrograde through your 10th house, bringing up issues, unfinished business with your work, okay, unresolved issues, clarify any miscommunication with family and friends. Those are all going to be highlighted as well. Towards the end of the month, I want you to really pay attention, because there's an alignment that's occurring that may have you thinking fantasy over reality, okay? So please pay attention, Pisces. emotions at home are being highlighted, and that Gemini full moon affects that area of your life having to do with family issues and feelings. So try to complete current obligations before you take on any more responsibility. Okay? So there you have it, Meria.
That's a whole lot, that's for sure. So, Joe, we have a month to go, a little more than a month to go, to the end of the Mayan calendar.
Yes.
Looking at the world, I'm like, wow, let's hope the Mayans are right. I'm only kidding. Years ago, somebody had come up to me. It was actually somebody that was a specialist in crop circles and the Mayan calendar. And he said to me, what do you think is going to happen when the Mayan calendar runs out? And I had said, well, I guess they're going to have to get a new calendar. What are you seeing astrologically? Are you feeling or expecting any big cataclysmic change?
Yes, I'm expecting people to become more aware.
Well, that would be a cataclysmic change.
Yeah, you see, everything in astrology for December really doesn't look that spectacular. There's nothing there to tell us that, oh my God, there's going to be a major event. No, what it is actually saying is it's an awakening process, that we're going to come to some realization of an awareness that we're all connected, or something inside of us, and again, it has to do with that alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, is going to bring us some awareness that says, I understand who we are. I understand what my purpose is. I understand, my connection to the universe. I think that's what's coming in, not this doom and gloom scenario. Okay? And if it does occur, the doom and gloom, I think it's going to be solar activated. Something to do with the sun is going to run hotter. And we know this because scientists are saying this. They're saying that we're in a solar maximum. You see?
Right.
We may have something significant that happens. And it may be that 3 days of darkness that's talked about, that the Mayans talk about in other cultures.
Right.
As we go through the dark rift, you see.
Uh-huh.
So there may be, could you imagine, Meria, that all of a sudden one day we wake up and the sun doesn't come up? And then the next day the sun doesn't come up. And then the third day the sun doesn't come up. Do you think that's going to bring a little bit of awareness to our reality?
I would think so. For me, I would just look at it as 3-day nap. Time to sleep through it.
But don't you think that would cause people to really think about what's going on?
Oh, yeah, and I could already hear the religionists would all be going wild with themselves,
Of course. Of course, but that's the more likely scenario that I see coming.
Right.
Is that something significant like that happens, and people just go, "Oh my goodness, what is actually happening? I better pay attention. I may want to know what's happening. Is this the end of the world?
Right.
We don't fun anymore. Are we all going to die? We better start embracing the people around us, and our family members."
Right. Exactly. Well, Joe, I want to thank you, as usual, for joining me today. I'm glad you got out of New York. You were able to escape New York in time.
I'm glad to be back.
All right, I'll talk with you soon, Joe. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Joe Anthony. Check out his site, planetswithin.com. There's a live link to it right here on site. Tomorrow I will be back with all the news and some of it on the election and how they were, a lot of flim-flam going on during this election, and yet look how quick it happened. If that was a Mercury retrograde result, it might be the first time I enjoyed Mercury retrograde. Anyway, again, thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing the information you get with anybody that'll listen. Check out my YouTube channel. Those things are free. Link that stuff around. Get it out there. Anything I put out there, try to get it out there as much as possible, because people are waking up. And when they do wake up, we don't want to point them in the wrong direction. You want to point them to where they're actually going to be able to get the truth that they need to know. And I consider that my show.
Thank you for listening.
See you guys
and supporting
tomorrow.
the Meria Show. Tell others what you learned today. Knowledge becomes wisdom only when it's shared. Encourage others to subscribe today. www.meria.net. Often imitated, never duplicated. A world of information all in one place. www.meria.net. Always ahead of the curve. Always on your side. Get active or get radioactive. Subscribe today.